All right, and moving on to our final three of the day, we got coming in at 63 with 119 points. He was on Andretti's list at 53. He was on Mongooses list at 65, and he was on JC's list at 66. And that is Finn Balor. And, I got my introduction to Finn whenever he was at NXT, especially as NXT champion in the initial run, not the second run. But yeah, this guy, for somebody that, started the Bullet Club, which is like the group that has basically started this wrestling renaissance.
Are they the longest running faction ever?
They have to be at this point, I
I
assume.
would think, probably, right?
Maybe.
You know what? It's a really good question.
Were there breaks, or was it continuous?
No, it's been continuous since 2015-ish, 2014-ish. I mean, we're going on 9 years.
You figure
That's
how
a-
long,
it's a
how
really
long did well the horsemen were the horsemen together?
it's the horsemen. It's the horsemen.
Yeah, but were they
even with breaks?
Were they continuous?
Yeah, I don't even think that matters because like continuous, you might be right, but yeah, the horseman was. I mean, that's 15 years, right?
15, probably 15, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood. Because
Yeah,
it would have ended during the NWO run, right? Basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Anyway,
but yeah, somebody like Finn Balor, who, he's super decorated in New Japan Pro Wrestling, goes to WWE, literally looks like he was going to be anointed the king after this NXT run, goes into that SummerSlam, becomes the first Universal Champion, annihilates his shoulder into pieces in that match, and then literally has been kind of bounced around all over the place. Never really ever got his footing again in the WWE on the main roster.
stay healthy.
What? Well, and since he's been healthy, he's so good.
Yes,
he's so good in this role right now. Like, I'm glad that you mentioned that he was the chosen one, because he was. So I did not see a second of Finn Balor in NXT in Lifetime. And when he was called up, I remember hearing about this Demon King, right? Demon King, whatever, Demon King. And then when I saw Seth Rollins go, hey, what do you think about the demon? And it, doom, doom. Hey, what is the demon? Doom, doom. And I'm like, oh, right? Yeah. And it goes, and we get hard guitar, right?
Yeah.
And he starts crawling in smoke. And I was like, okay, this is that dude. Well, then it was that dude, because that match with Seth was incredible. He was the #1 draft pick of Raw that year. He wins the Universal Championship, gets hurt by no fault of his own. And then that made me, with Baby Mongoose, go back into the Wayback Machine. She adores Finn Balor. Dude, I am down to like 9 people that I have their figures in the Detolf over here. And one of them is Finn Balor, NXT TakeOver with the chainsaw, because Baby Mongoose loves Texas Chainsaw Finn, brother. And I couldn't tell you how many times we watched the video of Finn Balor's greatest entrances, because he's so good at it. That fan art thing that he would do with the stuff painted all over him. The Samoa Joe matches, the cage match, insane in NXT. I go back and I see that Finn Balor started the Bullet Club, in retrospect, to see that the Young Bucks calling him Ferg, right? Like, oh yeah, Ferg was our leader and blah, blah, blah. And then like to see that, like, I say this again and again in the show, I love when people like each other, man. That's my favorite thing, is when people like each other, but fight each other like they hate each other, know? And when I hear guys like the Young Bucks that are pretty much, universally like, oh, these guys are good and fun to work with, when I still hear them say things like, oh, well, you weren't as good a leader as Ferg was, like that stuff makes me feel good because they're texting and be like, yo, Finn, check out Being the Elite today. Like I do seriously like that stuff a lot. And Finn Balor in the Judgment Day, the WWE has not made a lot of mistakes recently. There's no reason that Finn Balor did not beat Seth Rollins, and that the internal fight was briefcase Damian Priest with champion Finn Balor. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't happen. They might have a reason why, but Finn he's at the top of his game, man, and he's 40 years old.
Yeah,
and
great.
So that's awesome.
Really, what I watched Mongoose last night. I watched the Wrestle Kingdom 8 match with him and Ibushi. And the thing that's cool, like the whole match is excellent, of course, but the beginning of the match, Balor like blows open a casket and comes out of a casket dressed as the freaking demon and like walks to the ring like a zombie. And I was like, dude, this is so freaking awesome.
Yeah. It's just really cool that he found, like, obviously him doing that was his deal, and he was able to keep that as his deal. And I also do respect that, like, him being a Judgment Day guy, this is something that he can do. If he wants to wrestle when he's 49, he can come back as the Demon King and be Undertaker-ish. Not, you know what I mean? Like, not supernatural style, but like he's got us believing as wrestling fans that, like, bro, when you're in the demon gear, you ain't beating this guy. And I love that stuff, man. I really seriously do. I love that stuff.